Alrighty, can everybody hear me? I think we are set. Hello everybody, welcome aboard. It's that time of year again. We are here. Hope you all enjoyed that opening there. I've been quite enjoying myself. I feel like I'm getting back in the swing of things here. I had some issues with my editing software for quite a bit, and it really hassled me. So finally, Black Friday came about, got that all set up, and it's feeling a lot better now. It is feeling a heck of a lot better. I hope everybody here is having a good week. Yeah, it's a kind of one of those streams that just comes up in the middle of the week. But hey, it's just one of those things. I feel like we should just keep staying in the loop of things, keep staying on track, because it's starting to get a little chilly out there. Let's see if it'll play. There we go. There we are.
We find them this morning in
And my audio's not working. Okay, wait, something's audio's working.
Field right now.
Bill, AccuWeather's team issued an alert about lake effect snow days ago, but some people, sounds like we're still caught off guard. We don't like to hear that.
This happens every year, doesn't it?
No, absolutely. And Christina Burney, of course, as you would expect, just about everyone we spoke with last night, they were not local. They were from out of town, driving through the area.
Yeah, let's
and
just
that's
keep,
why it is so important to have the AccuWeather
this
app
happens
downloaded
every
and
year,
updated on
every
your phone.
single year.
So you can get
It's
those
just the
weather
same
alerts
thing, just
wherever
keeps
you go,
happening
because we were
and
getting
happening.
a lot of alerts last night in Hamburg. Now, we are down here in Westfield, New York. You can see clear skies on this side.
So a lot of
relatively
lake effect
warm
snow
waters in Lake
coming in
Erie.
for most of the western part of the Northeast and parts of Ohio and that part of the Midwest, Michigan, some parts of Illinois, but mostly, yeah, it's
that cold air
not in my
blowing
neck of the
across
woods
lake.
here.
Right
Hope everybody's
here, that's
having a
what
good
you're
time,
dealing with,
though.
one of the lake effect snow bands cranking up. Yesterday, farther
Look at
north
that.
of here in Hamburg, New York,
Would you
just
love
to
to
show
be
you
driving
the rough
through that?
conditions
I don't think so.
that drivers were dealing with.
wanna be
Within a
driving through
matter
that.
of minutes, we saw dry roads, the snow bands really fired up from lake effect, and you can see what a
get my,
slow go it was on Interstate 90. Within just a few hours, parts of the thruway turned into
can't hear it.
essentially a parking lot with heavy snow, low visibility, leading to crashes and spinouts.
There we
And
go
yet
again.
more, a Buffalo native was trying to move her mom, Peggy, down to Tennessee with her yesterday.
A little too late to go to Tennessee, but okay.
The big move was delayed because of all of the lake effect snow.
We've seen several accidents, and then we actually needed help ourselves because somebody cut me off and we ended up in a ditch. So, yeah, it has been a very interesting.
Oh, could have seen that happening. Wait, what's the car? It's another four-wheel drive crossover. Gee. I thought these cars were supposed to get you out of the snow. I thought they were safer. The bigger the car, the safer it is, right? No.
Oh, yeah, it has been a very interesting.
Like I keep repeating every single time. Anytime it ever snows, the only cars that I see falling off the road are usually only, it seems to be, SUVs, four-wheel drive cars, and all-wheel drive cars. I think people get a little too big for their britches here, and they get overconfident.
I'm here.
So you're moving down to Tennessee?
Yes, I am.
Oh my God.
I've been waiting for a very long time, and now I have the opportunity to move to Tennessee to be with my daughter.
Are you going to miss the snow?
No.
That was a big resounding no.
You could hear the laughs there. Peggy says she is not going to miss this lake effect snow one bit after dealing with decades of snowy cold winters in western New York. Now, we did that stretch of
Okay, so, I mean, everybody's going to move south now, yeah. But hey, good news. At least there is an opportunity to get yourself out of the snow, a better way to move, a safer way to move, let's put it, a more solid way, right? Because this is not falling into a ditch most of the time anytime soon. See in the chat over here. Hello, Usman. Hello, Eric. Hello, David. And hello, David. Yeah, this is, we're here. Again, apologies for the... I've just said, you know what? Today feels like a streaming day, and we're just going to do that. But hey, you guys are all here. Can't complain, right? This is what it's all about. We just keep on moving. So, Chicago. Airports and highways generally get the most media attention at Thanksgiving because they accommodate the majority of the people that move during the nation's busiest travel period. Passenger rail did get coverage last weekend on CBS Morning with coverage of Brightline, including a live shot and interview with Amtrak President Roger Harris. But where Amtrak provides convenient alternatives, its trains experience sellouts. This Thanksgiving was no exception on all its business units. What was different, however, was the lack of capacity on long-distance trains compared with previous years, and almost no additional service added to absorb regional patronage from Wednesday and Sunday travelers. Now, what's been going on mostly in the world of trains, especially here in the United States, is that after the coof has subsided, people are starting to get a little bit anxious about driving on the road for various reasons, as we've seen, so far. The infrastructure is falling apart. Drivers have gone even more crazy. Even with the less amount of drivers during 2020, we still had an uptick of fatalities and deaths on the road. It was about 46,000 dead in 2020. And that's with less people driving. Nobody's going to work because everybody's working from home most of the year. So yeah, it's getting pretty nuts out there. So you're seeing this vast amount of demand now for something that doesn't have enough supply here in the United States. And I think Amtrak got caught a little off guard because they didn't know there was going to be that many people coming this year. Again, it's been quite a bit a bit of a steep slope to get back to pre-coof levels. But it's starting to come back. And we're going to see in the next article that it's really starting to come back in a lot of good ways. Pre-pandemic, Amtrak routinely deployed extra full route Northeast regional trains and beefed up Acela schedules, plus shorter distance round trips with leased commuter equipment from New Jersey Transit, Philadelphia SEPTA, and Maryland's MARC. But this year, with the ranks of serviceable Amfleet cars depleted and 4 of 20 Acela train sets out of service, the company added only one Boston-Washington Acela round trip on Wednesday and no extra trains on Sunday. Though seats are almost always available on any train between certain city pairs, Trains Newswire observed the following sellouts and fare levels when attempting to book Wednesday travel on Tuesday and Sunday travel on Saturday. I mean, look at this. Like we were talking about this before, right? Just Wednesday last week about the amount of holiday travel that's been going on the fares. Now, it's not as bad as some people think. I think it just depends on when you want to travel. It's all dependent on that, but yeah, I mean the fares are going to fluctuate on Amtrak. Now, I wish they would have a bit more planning in terms of what fares you're going to get, and I think that will come at some point. I mean, with Brightline, their service has been basically flat fares, and you're going to know when the fares are going to increase during the busier periods, and you'll see that here on out. It's not like these weird numbers. It's like 258, 421, or 114. Usually on Brightline, it's 25 or 50 or 45 or an even number, right? And not an arbitrary, what seems like an AI generated sort of number here. But this is, it's what it is. The number of Sunday sellouts grew from Tuesday to Saturday, indicating last-minute travelers were willing to pay these hefty prices. Most New York and Washington midday fares this Tuesday started at $137. Between Boston and New York on Sunday, 8 of 18 southbound trains and 14 of 19 northbound trains were sold out as of the previous afternoon. Amtrak clearly was able to exert pricing power to generate substantial revenue while offering numerous departures on a travel corridor clogged with highway congestion and airport inconvenience. So people know that the train is the better option, especially if you're in the Northeast Corridor, the Acela Corridor, as our journalist friends keep on mispronouncing. It's Acela, not Acela or Acela. No, Acela. It's simple English, Acela. But anyway, the thing is that it works. So to say, even in the United States, that nobody wants to ride a train because it doesn't work is such a terrible and outdated boomer cliche at this point. And anybody deserving that, just at this point, is just point and laugh. I mean, just point and laugh at this point, because it's not true. It's not true anymore. We're seeing this work. We're seeing it work. When equipment and personnel were more plentiful, Amtrak was able to squeeze additional holiday round trips on some Illinois and Michigan corridors serving Chicago and the Seattle, Portland, Oregon segment of the Cascades. Even with the extra trains, the routes experienced Wednesday and Sunday sellouts. This year, the regular scheduled trains fill up well in advance of departures. Only the Chicago-Milwaukee-Hiawatha's had widespread availability on both days. And you can kind of see the shirt. I'm sorry, not the... Man, I'm not doing too well. I think I need more eggnog. No, this is not. It's not spiked eggnog. It's just regular eggnog. No, I'm not obsessed at all. But anyway, Oh, and here's a funny picture. Guess who this is before we scroll down. If I scroll down, guess who this is. I'm gonna give I know you guys are a little bit behind, but I'm gonna give the comments a couple seconds to figure out who this gentleman in the safety vest is. All right, let's see. Who could this be? Even if you don't know the name, even the position of this person, just tell me who they are. Not really a prize here, but I will say your name and I'll give you a congratulations. So at least give you that. All right. I know I have slow mode on, but I'll give it a little bit of time. Hope everybody's enjoying it. Especially the nice thing about Thanksgiving is when everybody else is on a diet and you're bulking, there's always going to be leftover dessert. So I'm going to enjoy a piece here, pumpkin pie. Nobody still has a name yet. Nobody still. No, it's not security. Funny enough, this is Amtrak CEO Stephen Gardner. I wonder if anybody in passing asked him about Brightline or anything about that. For those of you who don't know, during the congressional hearing for high-speed rail, it seemed that poor Stephen Gardner here was getting passed up for the new kid on the block, the hot kid on the block, Brightline, and everybody was kind of just sort of ignoring Amtrak, and they were getting passed over. But still, I mean, they're doing what they can, right? A few travelers at Chicago Station on the day before Thanksgiving probably realized that the man in the high-vis jacket offering directions and other assistance was Amtrak CEO Stephen Gardner. Now, look, I will give him credit as a CEO. Few people ever do that, mingle in with the crowd, mingle in with their customers and the riders, and try to be at least down here with us pros over here. But this is actually a good thing, going in there, and that's sort of the best way you get to understand really what your customer wants is seeing what they want. It's as simple as that. So I'll give him credit for that. That's very good, absolutely very good. Reprising a Thanksgiving tradition dating back to Amtrak's inception, office personnel and off-duty onboard service volunteers descended on major terminals to answer questions from harried holiday travelers. Amtrak CEO Stephen Gardner was one of them on Wednesday, directing passengers in Chicago Union Station's spacious but crowded Great Hall to separate boarding lines for the Blue Water to Michigan and the Illini to Southern Illinois. The trains are scheduled to depart within 5 minutes of each other. Gardner in the city for meetings with employees and a visit to Chicago maintenance facility remarked to Newswire, "We lost a train set in Michigan," referring to the still out of service locomotive and cars involved in the highway crossing derailment of the Wolverine number 355 the previous week. See Amtrak derails in Michigan. And that kind of deserves a different article. Hold on a second. What happened here to the stream? Some reason the stage over here kicked out, but the stream is still going. So that's all Discord. Let's see. Our stream attempt 2. Okay. I have no clue why the room kicked out. I don't know what Discord is doing, but okay, we're back. So here we are. Going back onto this, we'll talk about some of them, and I think this deserves its own thing. Talking about sort of the competency crisis, right? Because this is probably a big thing that deserves its own video. Because we're seeing more accidents happen, not just on the road or in the air, but we're starting to see it in rail, of course, with what happened with in East Palestine. Who could forget with Norfolk Southern? But we're seeing this more and more often, right? Now, this one wasn't technically Amtrak's fault. There was, again, a truck that stalled, of all places, right on the railroad track that causes accident. So, I mean, they're giving everybody and their grandma a CDL at this point, commercial driver's license. So you're going to see worse and worse drivers. And the absolute worst things they could be driving, which is, an 18-wheeler semi-truck. Okay, and this is becoming a problem not only for the people who are actually skilled at driving a truck, because that hurts them too, and it's going to affect their jobs, but everybody else on the road that has to deal with, somebody who can barely drive now getting a CDL because the trucking company needs to hire as many people as they can, and they're, going through as many people as they can, because a lot of them are leaving trucking or getting laid off, as a lot of trucking companies are in flux, or they're getting laid off, or it's just not for them because it's burning them out. So this is the sort of things that are going to be happening more and more. But here we go. But the company-wide superliner coach shortage, and that's why they're trying to replace them. Virtually every long-distance train experienced sold-out segments around the holiday weekend. On Sunday, for example, the northbound Coast Starlight had no coach seats north of Santa Barbara, California. The northbound Texas Eagles car was sold out north of Claiborne, Texas. And both the eastbound and westbound Sunset Limited leaving San Antonio to Los Angeles had no coach seats. Back in Chicago, the 3 Capital Limited equipment sets were finally assigned to a second coach on November 17th after regularly selling out one car all summer and through the fall. Predictably, the additional seats were immediately snapped up for holiday travel, but the train's 2 coaches and 2 sleeping cars finally have inventory in the traditional lull between the Thanksgiving and Christmas surges. So, yeah, people are riding trains, and it's not just, Amtrak and regional travel and long distance travel. It's also short distance travel. It's also intercity travel. As you can see here, San Diego now leads the U.S. in light rail ridership. Okay, and it's not just San Diego. A whole bunch of places are starting to come back. Quietly, San Diego's trolley has become the highest ridership light line rail in the country in the years since the coup. It's funny how we delineate life before and after now, because there's no going back to normal. And the normal before wasn't normal, okay? Things were kind of getting wacky before then. But we're finally now starting to see this paradigm shift where people are saying, you know what? Things kind of sucked before. Things really suck now. We need to. They're starting to get a little antsy for better solutions. Hence why politics, not just here in the United States, but everywhere. I mean, you look at other places, especially in Europe. Can't go into detail on this channel, but Ireland, man, places like in Spain and in Italy and in other places. I mean, people are starting to get upset at the way things are getting. And we'll talk about some political stuff in a bit, but nothing to deal with what's going on in Europe, because we're trying to deal with what's going on over here, and I don't want to get a channel strike over here, because I want to give you guys at least the good news to what we're doing on over here. But look at this. Los Angeles light rail system had the second most unlinked trips, counting each transfer as an additional ride, 31.5 million. Boston came at 30.7. And San Diego, 34 million trips. Now, San Diego doesn't have nearly as many people as Los Angeles or Boston, but it goes to show you that maybe San Diego's light rail transit, and from what I've heard, it's very good comparatively to the rest of the United States. The United States in general is not really good when it comes to light rail planning, but San Diego's in general is actually, in comparison, is pretty good. So again, if you've planned it well, you've planned it correctly, you're able to understand what the demand is and where people want to go, people will ride. People will ride. And we can see in other places where it's going. Blue Line ridership unsurprisingly jumped 66% in the first year after the extension opened. And again, it's growing. San Diego Association of Governments also began offering free transit ridership to anyone under age 18. What they're saying, MTS spokesman Mark Olson added trips from border crossers at San Isidro enforces ridership, and the agency cut services less than their contemporaries. So yeah, and you can see this, and here's the APTA Public Transportation Ridership Report, and it's just for 2022, right? We'll probably get the 2023 numbers pretty soon, and this came down in March of 23. But look at this, you're seeing ridership starting to go up. For some reason, they made this graph going the opposite way, and it's kind of hard to read unless you know what you're going for, but. Compare this column, January 20 of 21 to December of 21, for all travel, right? United States total. Let's just go United States total, right? 4.8 million, right? And then let's go to January 22, December 22nd, 6.1 million. Now you're going to start to see this really jump in some other places. Now the biggest jump, comparatively, was probably light rail travel. You see 220,000. And then you see about a third increase over here to 303,000. Okay, so people are starting to People are starting to come back, and I'm pretty sure the 2023 numbers are going to be really good once this comes out, probably next year or so, because we see this was done March of 2301. So probably around March 24. We'll probably see next year's numbers, and I'm pretty sure some other numbers are coming out. But people are starting to go back, not just going back to work and everything else, but people want to travel, and there's going to be, because of that demand going up, you're going to see cities try to cash in on this, and not in a bad way. They're trying to go ahead and capture this demand and be able to supply what they need. I don't know why I keep coming up with these terms. They're trying to serve the community and at least bring this service to fruition, right? The problem that we've been seeing in the United States, as we've talked about so many times, is the stupid amount of costs that this is incurring. Now, we've talked about Boston and kind of their blunder that they did with their system, and that it was so badly mismanaged, and for the new construction of their new extension, that the train can only move at a maximum speed of 3 miles an hour because the tracks are not at all constructed correctly. And they still need more money, right? And this is kind of the problem, right? Look at this. The Authority of Capital Needs Assessment and Inventory found more than 75% of its commuter rail signals. Isn't that that's kind of important, right? Transit track and power assets are out of a state of good repair. This is not just Boston. We know this is all around the country. The Northeast Corridor has how many bridges that are over 100 years old that haven't been serviced in who knows how long. But look at this. Again, 75%. So what's in a good state of repair? 25%? It's crazy. Restoring reliability and ensuring safety are priorities as we rebuild MBTA infrastructure. Understanding and acknowledging the significant resources needed to bring our system to a state of good repair is just one step towards fixing our infrastructure to deliver more robust and frequent service. The MBTA is one of the oldest transit agencies in the country, and while there are a number of contributing factors, it's clear that years of underinvestment have added to the cost of bringing our system back to a state of good repair. Timely and appropriate actions are key to mitigating and avoiding more costly, potentially impactful efforts. Note that we are committed to aggressively addressing our immediate need, like the recent 16-day outage on the Ashmont branch, to perform track work as we strive to deliver a modernized system to serve future generations. Now, again, you can't blame them for how bad this is, but does this really need $24 billion? Probably can be fixed for less, right? But apart from inflation, when United States, when any sort of government within the United States, right, whether it be the federal government or a state government or a local government, puts in for a project, it's always a heck of a lot more expensive than you see in other comparatively similar countries, okay? Nowhere in Europe do they spend nearly as much as we do per mile. Nowhere in Asia did they spend nearly as much per mile than we do. And those systems are far more advanced than ours. And some of them are pretty old themselves, okay? In a lot of places in Europe, they're pretty old, okay? So the excuse that this needs to be this expensive, there's no excuse for it, okay? However, the problem is that this country has its priorities so warped, right? And just goes to show you that whoever's in charge of the country doesn't really care about the country. They just more about they care more about sucking out its resources like some sort of leech, because $24 billion can be done like this, no problem. The money gets printed out anyway. But the money that we could be spending over here is literally being set on fire in some places, okay? And when I say literally, it's being blown up. Right, in the terms of weapons, in the terms of missiles and stuff like that. Not that that's not important for defense, but we're not defending our country really that well. It's kind of easy to get up the southern border, okay? Anybody can see that. So who are we defending again? Because we've been in Afghanistan for how long, and how much money we spent, and our country looks like this. That's the problem, and I'm pretty sure we all agree. There's different ways to fix this, but look at this. Facility, $6.4 billion. Rolling stock, $2.4 billion. Equipment, $52 million. Structures, 5.3 billion, that's 22% of assets. Signals, 1.3 billion, 80% of assets. And again, 80% of the signals. Signals in transit, 753 million. Track, 1.2 billion. Track transit, 2 billion. Power, $5.1 billion. So it's crazy. The estimated figures an increase of $14.5 billion from the last CNAI performed in 2019 and is driven by several factors. So that's what more than doubled, right? So this was 10 billion before. Okay, or 9.5 billion, right? 9.5 billion dollars they needed back in 2019 to do this, right? And it's gone up to 24.5 billion dollars. Okay, a more robust, comprehensive, and data-driven inventory approach that significantly increases the total asset count. So they kind of doubled everything, right? In a sense, in terms of what they're counting. So that could be one reason why. Significant infrastructure and construction costs increased driven by inflation and supply chain challenges. That's been probably the biggest one, right? They know this is going to really cost them, so they're trying to find out ways that they can really up the cost and say, we really need more. The continued aging of the MBTA's assets faster than they are being replaced due to years of underinvestment. The length of time for capital investments to show up improvements and be reflected in the CNIA. So, yeah, as we said before on this channel, it's going to get worse before it gets worse. Before it gets worse, and then soon it will start to get better. Start to get better, right? It doesn't just get better, it's not bleak, for 5 days out of the week and all of a sudden it's sunny. It gets bleaker and bleaker and bleaker, and then, a little bit of light starts to creep out here and there, right? And this is, again, excuse me, not a problem, just relegated to Boston. We know this is all over the place. Here we are, letter to the editor from the Los Angeles Times about a week ago. Billions for Metro Rail haven't bought more LA transit riders. Focus on buses. Now, you know as well as I do that you do need buses, right? But you need to find better ways to plan out transit, right? Everything needs to work together. In most countries, you have both, right? It's sort of like having the smaller arteries. So you have the bigger arteries as the trains, right? And the smaller arteries being the buses, the commuter buses and everything else, feeder buses, all that sort of stuff, in order to move people closer to their final destination. Okay, it's traveling that point A to Z, full on travel. But this is the thing, and again, this is somebody else's opinion, right? How many billions that they spent, and how many ridership numbers have they increased in LA? Not too much. I mean, as we've seen, San Diego has been doing quite better and probably not spending as much as LA, and they don't have as much of a population. But this has been a problem. We're spending so much money, and it's being misallocated or not being spent the right way. So let's see. We'll just read this. To the editor, you're writing your editorial on the 10 freeway fire enclosure. Los Angeles has been on a public transportation building boom thanks to 4 sales tax increases since 1980 to pay for bus and rail projects. Unfortunately, Metro has been undercutting the bus service system since 1985 when its predecessor agency stopped subsidizing bus fares or Prop A sales tax revenues and instead shifted the funds to the Blue Line train to Long Beach. Since then, Metro has spent more than $20 billion on a rail system with 100 stations, while its 18,000 stop bus system has languished. The impact on transit service and demand has been terrible. Since the end of the federal consent decree in 2007, federal statistics shows LA's transit ridership cratering. Now, that could be due to people leaving Los Angeles. It could be due to a number of reasons, right? I don't live in Los Angeles. All I know is whatever I get on the news and everything else from you guys out there, right? LA will never dethrone the car as king and usurp the freeways, though we can and should charge tolls. It is foolish to expect residents to give up the freedom delivered by automobility, but we can deliver a much better transit system at lower cost regardless of the 10 freeway. It all starts with making cost-effective choices, something Metro has little experience doing. Another one, to the editor. As we rush to rebuild the burned section of the 10 freeway, so if you guys don't remember, the 10 freeway went into flames and basically shut down Los Angeles, right? This is what happens when you have a massive dependency on the automobile and automobile culture. Is that when one of the systems, like when one of these little Jenga blocks go out, the whole entire thing falls apart. And it's even more dramatic when your system is already falling apart. So this is the problem, is that, that one freeway shutdown became a literal state of emergency for California. I'm not joking, because the governor actually did call for a state of emergency. Okay, a highway blowing up, going on fire, is a state of emergency in this country now, because we're too dependent on the automobile. Okay, so I'm surprised that we haven't heard any input from the community members to speak up whenever a new transit line or apartment building is proposed in their neighborhood. Freeways are noisy and environmentally disastrous, and they divide communities. I'm not opposed to all freeways, of course. I just feel that this freeway threatens the character of the area. Not to mention that undesirable elements could use the freeway to come to the area and commit crimes. Again, this is a letter to the editor. This is someone's opinion. You know what they're saying when they mean undesirable elements. This is what they're calling them now. The youths, the undesirable elements, the rocket scientists. Is this the next word now? The undesirable elements. Okay. Anyway, instead of working 24/7 to repair the freeway, why don't we spend several years and millions of dollars on feasibility studies? How many more studies are we gonna do? $1 million study? More $1 million studies? Come on, man. This process has worked wonders for LA's public transit system and housing supply, so I see no reason why we shouldn't apply it to our car-centric infrastructure as well. Because they want to increase the housing supply. You know how bad it is in LA, right? Oh, man. But anyway, I thought that was funny. And then we can go into my neck of the woods, right? Speaking of the elements. This is from the Miami Herald. And again, I'm from North Miami Beach, okay? And being, somewhat a person of color, I guess, it depends, because sometimes I guess I'm not. I become a colonizer because I'm too Spanish. I don't know. It depends. Okay, I can flux here and there, like some people, they can sometimes be fellow whites. You never know. But anyway, let's get into this over here. Oh, wait a second. We had a super chat. Shock 2957, thank you. Could you look into the Rio Grande plan in Salt Lake City? Will be a big upgrade in train service. Absolutely. We'll take a look at that. That actually sounds like a pretty good city pair also too. I mean, that's Rio Grande and Salt Lake City. Yeah, that seems like a great pair. I don't know if this what sort of project it's going to be, but if you can send me any links or anything like that, I'm certainly going to take a look at that. Now, back to this, and we'll definitely, I'm going to bring up there it is. Okay. Where's my pen? Pen. I had my pen somewhere. This is what happens when you're undependent on pens. Funny thing about the highways, I was just listening to Alan Fisher's new video about what is it, Elfhurst Street in Pennsylvania, and I think I've been by there, or one of the other streets, one of the old, 18th century streets that have been there since the colonial era in the United States. But kind of similar to how St. Augustine has it. I say we Floridians did it better, but anyway, but that's just going to be the things between Spaniards and British till the end of time, I guess, where we're always gonna knock out each other, but. The thing is that you have, these beautiful streets, right? And there's kind of a problem is that they went ahead and blew a whole section of I-95 through that street. Not even to the point that they didn't even put in noise barriers until later on, until residents complained. So, it's just ridiculous. But talking about this, okay, Bright Line fan with the, I don't know if that's the emoji or what. If you guys can still hear me, it still says excellent collection. Okay, we're still good. So this was a long. This article was June 3rd, 2023. So kind of relevant, kind of not. But this has kind of been a thing that's been going on in Miami, right? And I've talked about this for years. We've been promised since the 1980s to have the expansion of the Metro Rail up to northern Miami-Dade County. And that has not happened, okay? Now, the Dade County and the state of Florida has promised multiple times that they're going to go ahead and raise, a half penny tax and this and that and other sort of ways and all these big promises, right? And none of these promises really never, ever came, okay? Now, let me see if I have my notes over here. Yeah. So real quick, and then we'll get to this article. Back in 2002, we had the People's Transportation Plan, which collected about $3 billion, right? And there was nothing to show for it, right? All this sort of planning, everything. Yeah, we're gonna extend the Metro Rail, the same Metro Rail that's been more or less the same since the 1980s. The only extension that they did was the Orange Line to the airport, and that was 2.5 miles for about $500 million. So we're talking about a $250 million more or less per mile. Okay. Meanwhile, you have, France. Let's say France. France can do the same sort of thing for about $20 to $30 million per mile. So why are we spending 20 times the cost? It makes no sense. But anyway, for nothing that it's nowhere near as good, right? It's just there. There's been a lack of leadership and planning. It's always just been passing the buck. And then you'll have the one, commissioner or the one politician who says, you know what, we're tired of passing the buck, so he can get elected, and then nothing happens, right? That becomes the problem. And this is everywhere else in the country, right? There's been failed attempt after failed attempt. You have a 1 cent transit sales tax that's been increased, the half-penny tax. All you have is just the Orange Line, right? Miami-Dade must extend commuter rail as promised, and it never has. That's the problem. Most of this revenue just sits idle, or it just goes nowhere, and that's sort of the problem. So, in many and varied ways, the taxpayers of Miami-Dade County have been betrayed by their leaders over the years. One stands out for the sheer galling longevity of the duplicity, the failure to build a North Corridor extension of the Metro Rail. And again, this is from the perspective of somebody in their community, right? Who can't. I got to be careful with what I say here because YouTube doesn't like it when I say some things, right? So we got to be careful, right? I'm just quoting the article. For almost 40 years, the black communities of the northern end of the county have been waiting for the rail line that our leaders promised them if they voted for mass transit back in the late 70s. Residents have been shafted for so long. Children have been born, grown up, and had children of their own. And some of them have died. The Metro Rail extension isn't just late, it's a generation or two late. So now there's some positive sounding news about construction possibilities. A new pot of federal money might make a difference. Again, we hope it turns out to be true, but we cannot be dazzled by visions of dollars wafting in from Washington anymore. We won't believe it until the track is being laid and the stations are rising from the earth. We don't expect black voters to believe it either. Hey, I don't believe it either, and I'm not black, right? Decades of being cited and overlooked have taught us all that bitter lesson. The failure to build the promised stretch of track from the core of Miami up to the northern county line isn't just about transit, critical as that is to our community. It's also about injustice, the kind that breeds distrust in public officials and institutions and undermines democracy, something we can ill afford. Or maybe that's just part of democracy. I don't know. You mean they just say stuff to get elected and promise it and then lie? Gee, that almost sounds like democracy. So we'll say it again. The people of northern Miami-Dade were promised transit. They voted for it. They deserve to get it. Or at the very least, their children and grandchildren too. Right? And this article goes more or less of what I've been talking about, right? It's been in construction. And look at the city line doesn't even look the same anymore, right? You look at that. Heck, it doesn't even look like what it looks like in Miami Vice. Okay, this is how long ago we're talking about when this was being constructed, right? And again, it's amounted to nothing. So, and this is the problem, more taxes, more nothing. And then, of course, the SMART plan came out a couple of years ago. I remember that. Now, the only thing that has, come out in Miami that has actually been a massive boost and increase in terms of actually doing what's needed to be done was been the coastal link part of the SMART plan, which was just done by Brightline. Brightline said, you know what? This is something that's been in demand for far too long. We can do it here. We have the infrastructure. We have the right of way. Let's just do it. So now they have stations between Miami, Aventura, Boca Raton, Fort Lauderdale. They have all of, most of South Florida, right? And especially in between Miami and Aventura. And Aventura, covers a lot of people in northern Miami-Dade County go to Aventura. There's a massive bus depot. Not bus depot. There's a massive bus transit corridor, right, that goes through there. So this at least covers some of it. At least people on the northeastern end of Miami-Dade County. For people on the northwestern end, especially in, Opelika, you can get to Tri-Rail, right? But maybe not as good sometimes, but it's something, right? And this is kind of the problem, is that we spend so much in this country on a lot of basically, just crappy things. I know something's okay. Perfect. The Discord link for the Rio Grande plan. We're definitely going to look at that. Last article before we look at that. Since somebody brought up the California high-speed rail, we go to our friend Mr. Musk here, right? And Mr. Elon Musk, love him or hate him, whatever it is, he's a broken clock that's right at least twice a day, right? At the very worst, right? Now, we can blame Musk for a number of things, right? For the Hyperloop that is now dead and gone. There's no work on the Hyperloop. That's a dead project now. I'm glad to say I think the Hyperloop is finally dead. I know we haven't mentioned it in such a long time, but the Hyperloop is dead. It's not coming back. It may come back. It may just zombie attack, but you just have to put it down. You get one of those ray guns and you put it down, and that's it. So anyway, Elon Musk reacts to post about California high-speed rail project cost ballooning to over $100 billion. It is pretty crazy. And I'm pretty sure that he just said, just one tweet and just said crazy, and that was it, and then everybody's freaking out. Billionaire Elon Musk, founder of The Boring Company, once again criticized expensive rail projects. And the Boring Company, I had an article here about The Boring Company. I don't know where it went, but anyway, long story short, headline of it, 7 years of The Boring Company, and they only have 2.2 miles to show for it in Las Vegas. It's basically a private Tesla tunnel. It's the Tesla tunnel. It's not even anything else. It's a Tesla tunnel with rave lights. That's all the Hyperloop, this big thing, turned out to be. And then Elon Musk downgraded it to just The Boring Company, and it just turned into, a very downgraded Tesla tunnel subway sort of abomination. That's basically what it turned out to be. But he has a point here when it comes to another fun project that we so both love to love and love to hate here on this channel from all places, the California high-speed rail. They spent $9.8 billion, no track has been laid, and they estimate it will cost another $100 billion. For a single system, 800-mile long system, maybe it's not willingness to invest, the Post read. Yeah, I knew it. I didn't even see the tweet. I just said, watch it be. He just tweeted crazy. I was right. California's high-speed rail project was originally estimated to cost $33 billion. They spent $9.8 billion. No track has been laid, and they estimated it will cost another $100 billion. Again, it's not that hard. And Senator Scott Wiener here is actually correct. That despite whatever political differences, this has nothing to do with being left or right or anything like that. It's just common sense, right? I've always said that on this channel. We're done about this, this whole conservative versus liberal stuff. No, we need a third way. We need to stop this, and we just need to go to common sense. We need to go to what works. High-speed rail isn't rocket science. It exists in many places. Yet the U.S. simply refuses to invest adequately in rail, and even when it does invest, makes it hard to actually build it. We need to catch up. The U.S. would be a better place with more expansive and faster rail. 100% true, right? We do refuse to invest. And when we do invest, it's overexpensive, and then there's really no political will to get it done. It is, crazy. It's as simple as that. And he goes to basically shill for himself. The Boring Company could solve this problem for 1% of the... Dude, you're not going to build 800 miles of Tesla tunnels all through California. That's not going to happen, okay? That's just not. Underground tunnel system or loops. It's not even hyper anymore. It's just a loop. Just the loop. As per Musk's company's website, several tunnel digging projects now cost between $100 million and $1 billion per mile. You can make it cheaper, again. And I do agree that there are ways to make it cheaper, right? There are ways to do that. Tunneling costs must be reduced by a factor more than 10, with the TBC's loop tunnels currently priced at approximately $10 million per mile, highlighting its own cost efficiency. Now, Musk's Boring Company didn't really save that much money. In fact, it cost more or less about the same for the tunnels that they built, and really didn't get much anywhere. But anyway, let's go to these links over here. This is the first time I've actually opened up this. I forget that there's a chat over here. I really forget that sometimes. And I'm sorry guys on the Discord. I'm not trying to ignore you. I just try to see what's going. I got 2 screens at once. But since I don't have my usual setup, it's just 2 screens, and I have all these little windows all over the place. Okay. Let's see. Rio Grande project. Let's go ahead and bring this up. Ooh, wow, it's 59 minutes. Okay. Okay, we're definitely not gonna see the whole 59 minutes of this, but I'm definitely gonna save this and watch this. Let me see if there's an actual link or something that we can do. We'll just go. Is there a link that we can just see? Let me see what this is. Oh boy. What am I clicking here? Okay, high-speed rails for Dallas, Fort Worth, B Texas, first route. This is from how long ago? This is a link. Okay, no, just from not too long ago, from November 26th. All right. Anyway, speaking of tunnels, tunneling to this. Okay, guys, we'll look at them. We'll look at the links. Okay. It goes over the majority of the plan. Okay, I'll definitely take a look at that A2R. Definitely will, and we'll bring that up first thing next stream. We will bring it up. Okay, I will do good on that promise. Let me go ahead and get a break and eat a little bit and play this here, because finally something is happening in New York. Finally, something is happening. At least as of this month, right?
A $1 billion investment kicks off today at Hudson Yards. What it could mean for...
No, it's buffering. Really, you're gonna do that to me? I had you all set up and you're gonna buffer. Come on.
Off today at Hudson Yards. What it could mean for your future commute. Good evening, I'm Dana Tyler.
And I'm Dick Brennan. Today, a massive project to improve travel in the Northeast gets started here in the city.
The Gateway project includes a new tunnel under the Hudson connecting New Jersey to Penn Station. CBS 2's Jesse Mitchell shows us how federal dollars are helping the Gateway project get back on track.
This project has been talked about for 30 years, and with work finally set to begin, state and federal leaders are celebrating what they call the light at the end of a very long tunnel.
These are hard dollars that translate into hard hats.
Having support for...
That was kind of cringe, Chuck. That was kind of cringe. But hey, 30 years later, we're finally getting something done, right? So we'll give him that. Again, politicians, they just love ribbon cutting ceremonies. They love showing off shovels on the ground because they can take a picture of it with them with the cringy smile. It's always that same like kind of creepy smile that everybody does. Doesn't matter where it is. It's just like, when somebody shouldn't be there, and it's like they kind of look out of place when you see some sort of hunchback creature trying to go ahead and use a shovel in a suit. It doesn't really look that well. But they'll go ahead and, take a picture, post it in their office, and have it framed. And they say, yeah, look what we did. And then the project goes nowhere afterwards. But hey, let's see. Finally, the Gateway project. But hey, it's New Jersey. You know how it is in Jersey. For those of you who know about the, I was telling Catherine the other day because we were watching The Sopranos. And just randomly talked about the American, what's that mall? American Dream. The American Dream Mall. Oh boy, what a hassle that was. Oh man, what an absolute nightmare that was. I don't think somebody was okay. There, I keep muting. I have to mute both microphones for some reason. I don't know why the microphone is not working on both ends. But anyway, let's go ahead and keep playing this.
New York, among Washington leadership, helped secure a total of $11 billion in federal financing, 70% of the money needed to connect Secaucus to Penn Station through a brand new gateway.
This is the largest single investment in infrastructure, and what better place than the great city of New York, the great state of New York, to prove that when we do things together, we can get great things done.
The project is expected to provide 72,000 union jobs and an economic impact of $19 billion once all 4 tracks are up and running, transporting 200,000 people daily. Transportation Secretary Pete Buttigieg.
You know, you always got to figure out. It's like how do they calculate the economic impact? You know, I'd love to see the math behind that. I do think it's important. It absolutely has been needed, but you know, come on, let's get moving.
Buttigieg compares Gateway to the Hoover Dam and Golden Gate Bridge.
But there are some infrastructure projects so large.
Let's not talk about the Golden Gate Bridge sometimes, because that was kind of a mixed result as itself. The Hudson Tunnel and the Gateway project, it's absolutely needed, absolutely.
So complex that they defy traditional funding structures, and so significant that they become iconic parts of the American landscape.
The need to repair and replace the existing century-old tunnel became apparent after Superstorm Sandy, when salt water sped up.
We're still talking about this from the... This is crazy. You know how so far behind we are in this country when we're still talking about projects from the Obama era. Or we're still, you know, talking about disasters from the Obama era that still haven't been fixed, right?
Up the corrosion already underway. The federal investment now brings each state's contribution to construction costs down from 25% to 15%.
I have already mentally spent that extra money. Don't worry about it. But let me give you a hint. It's got shovels and hard hats as well.
Funny. It's our money. Let's laugh about it. You know, you've mentally spent it, but we. You know what's the funny thing is, again, what I keep talking about, the cringe and sort of just snidiness of some of our politicians. You know, has this person ever needed to deal with, you know, with the amount of traffic and the absolute headaches and stress that, you know, the normal people around the area need to deal with? I mean, she gets around in, you know, in guarded limos and helicopters, but, you know, it kind of shows a bit of a disconnect, right? You know, there's just some things you don't joke about.
Shovels and hard hats as well.
Amtrak has already spent more than $200 million to fortify the tunnel.
And we've been able to keep those tunnels operationally, and it's our hope that we'll be able to do that until the new tunnels are completed.
Riders can expect to take their first trips through the tunnel in 2035.
2035? You mean we... 2035? I gotta wait 11 more years. You know, it's kind of crazy because the thing is that we've talked on this channel about so many projects that we've had to wait for. I remember like one of the first videos we did about California, you know, how long we had to wait to 2029. We had the joke of Darius dressing up in a beard and you know, turning away into dust. But this is kind of the problem. It's like, you know, now 2029 is not that far away, okay? It's going to be 2024 soon, so that's 5 years away. 5 years away, and California still has no railroads. No steel yet. A lot of viaducts, a lot of concrete, but no steel. Is this going to be 2035 or is this going to be 2050? That's the problem, okay? When Americans... And I mean this with all of us when it comes to our politicians, because we don't hold them accountable, or we don't have anybody in charge accountable at this point, right? It's a lot of talk and nothing. And forget about the, you know, oh, well, now Americans have bought more, you know what, since ever. And what? And what? Because it's still the same thing, right? It's still the same thing. You know.
From Hudson Yards, Jesse Mitchell, CBS 2 News.
Oh, man. It's just sometimes it just gets you on a boiling point, right? But, hey, here we go. We got another... Look, at least it's something, right? It's been needed. It's been needed to get done. But, again, it's like... It's been kind of late. We've been needing it. We've been needing it for a very long time. It's not a want. It's a need. The infrastructure it has fallen apart here. Okay, to the point that, you know, Amtrak, what is it, the head of operations over here, or let me see. Let me scroll around on this video. Amtrak chairman. Yeah, basically they're saying, look,
tunnels are completed.
Riders can expect to take...
Back.
We'll be able to do that until... And we've been able to keep those tunnels operationally.
Well, Amtrak has already spent more than $200 million to fortify the tunnel.
And we've been able to.
So they basically have to keep scooping out water and keep propping it up until this gets done, right? And then people blame Amtrak for spending more money. Well, I mean, if the money had gotten spent correctly, and if it's gotten spent in a timely manner, we wouldn't have to be in this situation. But that's where we're at. I mean, and things are changing, right? Now, this whole thing this whole sort of great move that people saying, well, people aren't going to be going to New York anymore, right? People are going to be moving out into the suburbs and the rural areas. Well, that's not true now anymore. Americans who bought large homes during the coup are now selling up. People are going back to the cities, or they're going closer to the cities, right? Now, you need rural areas, right? You do need rural areas. You do need farmland. You do need green. You do need areas for nature, for plants, for animals, for all the endemic species here in the United States. You do need, large land. By the way, I would for one be supportive of letting the wild bison roam free again and cause havoc on the highways. That would be quite funny. But anyway, the thing is that we've had a very big housing imbalance here in the United States. It's not that there isn't enough houses. There are plenty of houses. It's just that they keep building them. They keep inflating the prices of them. It's more or less to a point that they're just gambling on the houses, keeping them inflated at such high cost because it keeps the banks happy. And meanwhile, people our age can't find a house to live in, so we're either living with parents, living with other family, or renting. And the house ownership for this generation is still very low compared to previous generations. The one generation we all we can all point the fingers at over here. It hasn't been the same. So yeah, people are going to start moving back to cities. It's going to start coming to an end where we need to start moving people back again, in and around everybody, in and around these places. So yeah, this is the problem. Or the other issue is that the continuing building of the suburbs. You live over here in a house that's basically made out of paper mache from very cheap labor. And here's the problem with a lot of these new houses. There's a lot of mold in them because they're not insulated correctly. I don't know how many things I've seen on new homes that it's just or the insulation's bad. I mean, you can knock on a wall, you can hear from the whole other end of the house. It's kind of ridiculous, But yet, basically a house with about not even that much of the material and construction, to go ahead and overinflate the price to $800,000 or something ridiculous. Why? So you can go ahead and spend an hour to go from here to go over there. How does that make any sense? Right? Let me spend more to live over here so I can drive over there. Because I don't like living over there because that's where the what's the term again? That's where the undesirable elements live. Is that what it is? Is that the untold thing of suburbanite Americans? They want. You can keep running away. You can keep running away. It's just gonna keep sprawling the cities, and then they'll go ahead and run away again. I mean, seriously, it's just such a stupid thing. Why don't you go back and take the cities back? Why don't you go make the cities better for everybody? Make the cities better for everybody. Let's just do that, okay? Rural homes for rural people and urban homes for urban people. No more of this half-wash. No, pick one. But people are getting ticked off. This is funny from back in the elections. We're almost done with the articles, and then we'll get to the comments over here. I didn't even choose that many articles, and then it just started to blow up. But like I said, things are changing. People are getting upset. Like I said, voting in a federal election or federal plans to do anything may not be much. Okay, it kind of amounts to Chucky holding and Petey over here. Oh man, it's just enough. It's just enough to drive a man mad. Where's that picture? Come on, where is it? I want to see him holding the two hard hats. It's probably the first time in his life he's ever held a hard hat. There we go. There's Chucky. You know, this is what the federal government thinks of you, right? You know, you're a prop. Your job is a prop. That's what they are to you. Okay, and people are getting upset. So there's really no way to really affect the federal government, right? Where you really have more power is in the local elections, right? To an extent, because I will say there are some local elections that, you know, if you live in a city, it's going to go blue anyway, right? If you live in some rural areas, it's just going to go red anyway, right? So, but there are some ways that you can be able to affect things, right? A rural Michigan town voted to oust its entire local government Tuesday after the town board approved a Chinese-affiliated electric battery plant. So basically everybody got together, they strongly disapproved of it, and voted them all out. So that was actually funny, okay? And that's the only way democracy works, right? Is if you overload the system. You have to overload it in order to get anything done, right? Because if it just keeps going as planned, it just, you know, you have people who will be on these commissions for years, okay? It becomes a career to them. I mean, I don't know how many times that I've seen, and I'm not naming any names, but back when I lived in North Miami Beach, there are people who are still commissioner, who have been commissioner since I've been born. It's not supposed to be a career. You're supposed to represent people and then go back to work. That's the whole point. There's no spirit of Cincinnatus of anything here, you know, which is funny, but it's just ridiculous. Because funny enough, this whole country was built upon that, or at least you had an inkling of that tradition, right? George Washington served 2 terms. People wanted him to serve a third. It's like, no, I'm kicking it out over here. And that stayed a tradition until Roosevelt came into, took over. And it was only until he died after 4 terms. After 4 terms, right? We're not going to get into that because that's a whole other can of rage fuel for me. And I already have enough eggnog in my system. So let's keep moving. Speaking of electric batteries, this is, you know how I'm weaving this all together. This is all my delicate weave here that I've done. Because electric batteries and electric cars haven't been in as much demand. Gee, does you think that maybe millennials can't afford a $40,000 or $50,000 new car that doesn't even doesn't even have the same infrastructure that we have available? Here's the thing. Do you know there are 145,000 fueling stations across the country? Yet there are only close to 2,000 Tesla superchargers. You cannot, I mean, even if you double the amount of that, you'll have 4,000 superchargers, right? You still have 145,000. We're talking about a magnitude of close to, you know, close to 100, right? Give or take, about 75, 50 times more, right? But it's just insane that we're trying to make this such a law instead of working on things. You have electric trains. It's not that electricity doesn't work. It does work, okay? I mean, this whole thing is being powered by electricity. It's not that. I'm not going to make some boomer tier argument, right? Electric cars are cool, okay? I've driven them. I like them. I think they're good. The problem is that if you're not driving a Tesla, basically, more or less, crazy. I know, right? Crazy. If you're not driving a Tesla, you're basically SOL, right? Because like that, what happened to that one family that drove that F-150 Lightning and got stuck because there's no charging stations anywhere for that thing. That's the problem. You don't have the infrastructure available for it. And now Volkswagen is laying off workers because the brand is deemed no longer competitive because they've put a foot too far into the electric space, and now it's sticker shock. It's sticker shock for everybody. Get the pun. But yeah, that's the thing. All this to build electric infrastructure and electric cars, and you jumped the gun. You jumped the gun, and now that's the problem. Let me see. The company had previously had a plan to take advantage of the demographic curve to reduce its workforce, having pledged that it would not carry out dismissals until 2029. Well, they lied. It's not like the only thing that Volkswagen lies about. They went from diesel and lied about their diesel emissions We all know what happened with that with Dieselgate, and yeah, Volkswagen, how the mighty have fallen. They could be fine, and I know this is just kind of like one of those boomer tier sort of sayings. Oh, they could just keep building the Volkswagen Beetle that they've done, and that would actually be cheaper. Yeah, here's the thing. The problem is that the companies want to make money. They don't want to keep selling you, unfortunately, and it's become the unfortunate thing, right? Most American companies have started this. I mean, there's some Japanese companies, especially in the 90s, where they overbuilt cars to last 500,000 miles, and even Toyota is now not is still guilty of planned obsolescence. But they want you to buy a car that breaks so you can buy a new car. Because if they give you a car that's never going to break, you're not going to buy a car, right? And that's probably, most people don't know how to take care of their cars, so it goes to 100,000 miles. They don't want to, I don't want to play with you anymore, and they drop it like Woody in Toy Story 2, and they go ahead and buy a new toy. A new toy for 4 more years, and then 4 more years, right? And then they go ahead and get another toy. Gee, it's almost as if we have democratized the car, right, Henry Ford? We democratized the car. It doesn't work after 4 years, so we throw it away and get another one. It doesn't work after 4 years, we throw it away and get another one. That's the car cycle, right? It's democracy on wheels. But even democracy has a point, and now the electric vehicle mandate in Connecticut is now over. They were mandating that every single new car, or let me see. That's California now. That mandates every single car sold in the state is by 2035 is electric. But yeah, now Connecticut is getting rid of their law that's similar to that. So yeah, it's funny. That's just the way it is. At some point, either the voters are going to get ticked off that they're just going to vote you all the hell out if they actually woke up and did something, right? And you're lucky that you get voted out, right? You're lucky that you get voted out. Just take the loss and deal with it. You're lucky it's just voting out, right? It's just a ballot. It's not the other B word. But it's either that or reality sets in so hard. It sets in so hard that there's no other alternative but to say, yeah, we messed up. Now, there is an alternative. We know it works. At some point, we got to get working. But anyway, all right, I am done talking. It's time to let you guys talk. So first on stage, we have 5 people here on Discord. And again, if you guys want to join in, the Discord link is... okay, no heart attack gun, right? Let's see. Let me see if I can I'll get the link for the Discord chat if you guys want to zoom in or join on in. But anyway, let's put David Mitchell on board. David Mitchell, you are invited to speak. Welcome on board.
Doing good, man.
How you doing?
I'm doing good. Good. I got done with a live stream like 2 minutes right before you started yours.
Oh, man, I swear to you, man, I'm not following you. It's just coincidence.
I know, dude. I should have kept the live stream going, and we should have done a collab. That we should have done.
Yeah, we'll have to do it at some point, or I'll just come onto your stream and just say, hey.
I know. I think we should do that one of these days, but you remember last week on me and Vel anniversary when I was talking about who are really against, like commuter rails in the big and some of these small cities?
Right.
Like, you remember when I talked about that the real people against it would be, the ones who would really lose money?
Would be the car dealerships, that's what you said, right?
Yeah, the car dealership, but not just that, but the insurance companies too, and the gas stations, and the mechanics. Because they're all intertwined. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's all a big conspiracy there. And again, when we say conspiracy, it's not, tinfoil hat. No, it's actually there. We've had actual conspiracies happen, like the streetcar conspiracy. You can go ahead and look it up. We're not making this up.
Exactly. And the thing is that I'll be honest, like literally, if you give people like a better option like commuter rail and you made it like where you can walk to it in less than 15 minutes to where you need to go and where you live at, you don't even ever have to buy a car. And that's the thing. All the companies know this, and they're scared of it. Because let's be honest, if you don't need to buy a car because you have super reliable transit you can rely on, that is cheaper than owning a car, you would literally not buy a car from a dealership. You would not have to buy insurance for that car. You would not have to fill that thing every couple of days to a week up with gas. You would not have to take that to the mechanic shop every couple of months to a year for checkup and oil changes. Like, when you factor all of that in, and you realize that people who are really dedicated to have businesses that prey on people who need transit, you start realizing who the real bad guys are, you know?
Yeah, and that's the thing, is you have a whole economy. I'm pretty sure the whole automotive economy, or anything that revolves around the automobile economy in the United States, is probably a higher GDP than a lot of countries combined. Because the whole entire country, I mean, you think about it. Your whole work is, because most people, it's not like they work, right where they live, or, let's say if you're working at a retail area, let's go down there to that extent. Whether you're working in retail or whether you're working as a highfalutin CEO, everybody has to get into their car and more or less drive to where they're going. Unless there's, a couple places you don't have to do it. Like New York, or in some other places, or like in San Diego, where they have a higher amount of light rail ridership. But that's the thing, is that the majority of Americans are dependent on the car. If you don't have a car, you can't go places. I remember there was some story that I read about, like, it was some car dealership. I think it was in Japan. When it had to do with the cars, of like how much a car meant to a person, right? And even in Japan, okay, because you still have, transit and everything available, right? But he sold his car to a guy that needed to go to the hospital every single time, and he lived, kind of far away from the city, right? And he said, like, this car is my life when he bought the car, because without it, I'm not going to have a life. Cars mean a lot to people. Now, you can give people the option, and definitely in places like Japan, you do have an option if you live in, like in Tokyo and other places, and most of the time people just take the train. Like 70% of the population mostly takes the train. They don't really own a car. But even then, if you do own a car, here's the other thing that also plays into that. It downsizes your life, right? Because it's one less car you need, or, you know what? I don't need a big giant SUV. I'm good with just a small two-seater, or, commuter car, or anything like that. Because the opposite has happened in the United States, where everybody's upsizing, right? You look at the Honda Civic. The Honda Civic is bigger than what the Honda Accord was 10 years ago. It's insane. The little Honda Civic, a car that you could pick up, with two hands up on the front. It's become bloated. It's insane where, just even the smallest cars have become bloated, and everybody's driving these giant crossovers or giant SUVs. And then you have them, flipping on the road, or, falling off the road when it gets snowy. So, yeah, that's the thing. Any last words you want to put in, David?
Like, and I'll be honest, like, saying, like, car corporation, they know this, and instead of, trying to support something that we rely, like, on a rail, they said, we could do that with bus transit. Like, they know bus transit is worse and not as good as commuter rail, because commuter rail is superior over buses. And the car company, they know that, and they know buses, even if it's a BRT, will get stuck in traffic. And they said, we can use it because we use buses as a transit Band-Aid. A Band-Aid on transit, and to be honest, buses are not that good.
Yeah, I mean, and it works. It depends on how it's good, right? Because like the buses in Japan have been, they were fantastic, right? Buses here in the United States, no, it hasn't been fun. Every time I've been on a bus, and it's not like, oh no, you just want a bus. No, I had to take the bus when I was working in Coral Gables, because I did not want to take my car, and I deliberately chose not to take my car because, like, you know what? If I'm preaching this, I'm going to absolutely believe in it. And I'm going to do it. I would drive my car every day to Golden Glades, take the train down to the station over in the airport, and then take the bus down Lejeune or wherever it was I needed to go in Coral Gables and work where I had to work. Okay, and I would do the same back up. So, can it be done? Yes. The unfortunate part is that it's not too dependent here in the United States. It's not something that you can really depend on because how many times has the bus been late or the bus wasn't working or the bus was... I've been on buses where they've just shut down or where they've almost blown up. So you have to take an Uber. And unfortunately, I had to take an Uber more than I wanted to. And, it's like, you don't want to spend that much.
That happened to me too, so it happened to me too, and I'll be honest. Like, it infuriated. Like, here out where I live, I live in right on the super outskirts of the city, and we only get one bus in the morning and one in the afternoon.
Yeah, and that's a problem. It more or less forces you. It forces you to buy a car. That's the problem in terms of dependability. Anyway,
exactly.
Appreciate you coming on, David. Good stuff as always. Thank you for coming on board, man.
You too, man.
All right, take care.
Have a good one.
You too. All right, we're gonna try to go fast through most of the audience, and I'm sorry, but let's try to keep it to 2 minutes. Okay, let's keep it to 2 minutes. All right, Minor Tree, you are invited to speak. Okay, and guys, if you have your hand up in the audience, make sure you are, paying attention. Okay, because I'm gonna give you. There we go. Good.
Can you hear me now?
Yep. Loud and clear. How you doing, man?
I'm doing great. I just started the timer on my side as well, so I don't go over.
Nice. Appreciate it. Thank you.
But for the most part, on David's point of vehicles getting bigger, that was mostly an aspect of the CAFE standards being the commercial automotive fuel economy standards, which based on the wheel size. So
oh yeah, absolutely, you get more lax standards the larger you make the car, so they're just playing the loophole within the system.
Yeah, I mean, I can go on a 3-hour rant on that how to solve it, but for the most part, in order to make a better urban area, you're going to have to change the zoning laws heavily in order to help rebuild up the cities. But the unfortunate truth is you require people who are willing to put their government careers basically in jeopardy in order to do that.
Oh yeah.
So I, based on history, those already in power are never going to do it, and the people who would end up doing it would realize that it's a one-term career, if that.
Yeah.
And I doubt anyone is both willing and able to put up that kind of fortitude unless they have a backbone willing to say no to a long future.
Oh yeah, and that's the problem, right? It's like the reason why you have suburbs and you have to go ahead and drive 5 miles to go to a grocery store is because of those zoning laws. We're asking places where you have mixed zoning in places like in Japan. You can live on top of a store, or you can live down the street from wherever you need, and go to a train station or whatever it is. And even in New York, right, where you still have some mixed zoning laws, but even then. Especially here in the United States, it's gotten to the point where you have to be either ridiculously rich or ridiculously embedded into the system in order to take advantage of zoning laws to do what you want. And half the time it turns up into these expensive projects where it's A, cost prohibitive, and B, it's the only people who can afford it are the people who are at the top. And that becomes a problem, which is why housing it's again, the crisis is not that we don't have enough housing, it's that housing is way too expensive.
Yeah, and that goes into an issue that I can't fit into my last 10 seconds, but for the most part, thanks to Watchy for giving me that idea in the Discord chat on writing books so I can have more time to solve all the issues. But for the most part, if you dealt with the zoning laws alone, that could help bring up a better argument for at least the more urbanized areas for mass transit and more suburban rail, that issue can be solved with just a few changes to more state laws than anything.
Yeah.
But my time is up, so I'll have to try again later.
No worries, man. Appreciate you. Thank you for coming on board, and come back anytime. I appreciate it, man.
Will do.
All righty. Take care. Okay. Next up is Tobio Kageyama. Let's go ahead. The man from Tokyo. Inviting him to speak.
Hello. Can you hear me?
Yep. Can hear you. How's it going?
Okay. How about you? How's it over in Indiana?
I'm good. It was nice and chilly here today. I got some snow flurries. And I like the cold. I'm the crazy guy over here who loves the cold. And funny enough, I'm from Florida,
Yeah,
so I guess I'm just so tired of the heat. That's probably why.
Yeah. As a person who lives in Arizona, I don't know, I just miss the snow and the cold, for some reason.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, so as is previously said in this live stream, you said that, for example, the Hudson River Tunnel, although they finally start construction this month, it's really, really expensive compared to let's say another project, let's say maybe a subway project in let's say Japan or Europe, and how do you think we can kind of fix those kind of issues of American projects being too expensive compared to other countries like Japan, Europe, China, Korea, India, or Indonesia?
I think it's very much more of a foundational issue when you go to the system that our country runs on. And the last caller was absolutely correct in saying, the zoning laws. The problem is that the zoning laws that we have, the people that we have in charge, have basically been in charge for so long that they know how to game the system, right? But if somebody goes on there and they want to change the system, even if they're talking about changing the system, right, or they're talking about getting rid of the people or saying stuff like drain the swamp, right, they don't get there for too long and they'll get kicked out, right? Whether they're absolutely truthful about it or not. Because the last guy that we had on there, he wasn't really so much about it, but anyway, point being is that this is a foundational issue that it's become so ingrained that whenever there's some sort of large construction project within the United States, there's a lot of funding that gets slushed down into either massive studies or other forms of bureaucracy.
Right,
And we've covered it, in some of the video. And I think that video definitely deserves a rehash and a redo. There's a lot of videos on the channel that really deserve that.
And not only that, but for example, both for the Texas Central project and even for the California project, they spent almost like a decade for just the studies. Texas Central, I'm pretty sure they first announced their project in 2009 or 2010. They said that the project was going to be done in 2020. Well, in 2020, their studies were only done, and that just shows how ridiculous it is actually. How long these kind of things take.
Right, and that's the thing. It's different for a private company when they're doing a project because they need to move fast, right? Because they're burning money every day. They've taken out loans. Interest is accruing. They need to go ahead and pay that back, and they need to start building something and getting money back to at least start paying off what they've owed, right? So, for example, Brightline has been doing that, and the ridership has been increasing far faster than people had thought, especially given the fact that they kind of opened up right before everything has changed with the COOF, and now that they're really moving forward ahead afterwards. So they've really shown a good example of what can be done in the amount of time now it could have been done quicker. The problem was, again, you have the NIMBY element and the zoning element and that very entrenched, large, you could say boomer contingent within the United States that doesn't want things to change. Or they want it for themselves. Because, it's me, it's all mine. I don't want anything for anybody else.
Because just to see that, I would like to go to the Texas NIMBY pages. The Texas NIMBY group's Facebook page and just look at them. All the comments, they're from the boomers.
Yeah, and that's the thing. You look at all these groups.
Boomer craps.
You'll be hard pressed to find anybody under the age of 60 in most of these groups, right? Again, it's very easy for them because most of them are retired now, or they're not really working as much as they were. So they have all this money, they have all this time. they're on Facebook all the time. It's just funny because they spent the last 10 years or so before Facebook saying all these kids and their gadgets, and the minute they get a phone, that was the thing. This was the worst thing to ever come out, right? Because as long as the internet was regulated to the computer and it was hard to use a computer, it at least gate kept the worst people away from it, right? But the minute you made it easy, the minute that dastardly Steve Jobs made it that you can touch like an ape and be able to get what you want, is what brought the worst people onto the internet, right? So
Yeah.
It goes to show that they're still, and they will be still, the boomer will be still a powerful voting bloc and powerful contingent, even though they have less numbers. Yes, millennials are technically we're a larger population, but we have absolutely nowhere near the amount of time and money as the baby boomer generation is, and it's unfortunately it's a generational difference. It's an unfortunate thing. It shouldn't be happening, and honestly, this needs to be a lesson for us that we should not be the same as our elders were. And again, it's not all baby boomers, we know that, but we should not be collectively as a generation should never ever just take it as a lesson. Never ever be as selfish and as destructive as the last generation was.
Right. Okay, well, thank you very much.
No worries. No problem. Appreciate you coming on. Take care, man.
No, me too. So yeah, and sorry if I kind of took too long.
No worries. This was actually a good segue.
Oh, good. Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Well, then I think I'll see you next stream.
Take care.
You too. Thank you.
All right. Next on the list, Grand Trunk Line. Or Grand Trunk Railway fan. Invite to speak.
Oh. Hello?
Hey there.
It's alright.
That's the reality of things, right? It's, when anybody says it's all good, it's all right, that pain in our soul, man. I get you. I get you, man.
It's just not... It is going in a mental state right now.
I know.
Like, I've been looking up, like, urban development forums. The one of them, the two cities I mostly look up is my hometown of Kalamazoo in Grand Rapids, Michigan. There's been a lot going on.
Yes, how bad are the home prices over in your neck of the woods?
I don't remember. I never keep track of that crap. I've been seeing prices skyrocket in front of my own eyes.
Yeah, and that's the thing. It's not just the prices; it's also the interest rates, right? Because, yeah, sure, maybe you can be able to afford that home, but you're paying a heck of a lot more for it per month than you would have been even just a year or two ago. And that's the issue when, again, it's not that we have a problem with housing supply. We have plenty of homes. It's the problem is that how they're being built, where they're being built, and who they're being built for. They're not being built for young families or anything like that. They're being built for people who can't afford them, which is definitely not our generation. That's the problem.
It's gonna get tricky.
Yeah. Anything else you want to add, man? Or are you good?
Crap! I lost it.
No worries, man. I appreciate you coming on. Don't worry, it's just one of those days, right? But anyways,
Right.
thank you for coming on board. I appreciate it.
No problem.
All right, and last with their hand up is Renell Reed. It's been a long time. Welcome aboard. You've been invited to come on stage. Hello, Renell. Can you hear me? Renell, I think you have your mute on. You got your mic muted. Ronell, I think your mic is still muted, man. Okay, well, we'll give him a bit to fix that. Let me see what's going on in the comments. Net J10, the millennial and Gen Z effect was seen quite noticeable in the most recent election cycle this month. Yeah, that's the thing. We're starting to now finally get some power, but, you know, we're kind of both in this together.
Can you hear me now?
Yep, I can hear you.
All right.
How's it going, man?
Glad I could get that fixed.
No worries, no worries. How's everything going?
Pretty good. Talk about a article you shared on a couple streams ago, where it talked about faster trains to begin serving passengers in Florida as Amtrak monopoly falls.
Yes, I remember that article.
Or I think that was like the headline.
Yeah, that's, you know, and again, it's a little bit of an embellished headline because Amtrak kind of serves a different, let's put it this way, they're serving a different sort of market. But again, yeah, it's understandable that, you know, people want trains, especially the Miami to Orlando ridership. They want a faster train, right? And for about the same price or less, you can get on Brightline and arrive there far faster than Amtrak 6 hours, right? You're getting there in less than half the time.
Like 3 hours and 30 minutes or something like, I think.
That's with all the stops. Yeah, and I think it's 3 hours if without most of the stops, if it's just the direct express line.
If anything, I think they should be taking some operational notes.
Oh yeah, and Amtrak has been doing that. If you've seen their new Aero train sets or Aero train sets and some of the new Am fleet, they're looking very similar. If not, well, because they are. They're the same train sets from Siemens. They're Aero train sets. So they're definitely taking a big note out of. They're that kid that says, you know, from Brightline, it's like, you know, hey, you can copy my homework, but don't make it look like you stole it. And they basically just copied and pasted it and just put on Amtrak on it.
When you showed like the pictures of the Aeros, it was a slightly different bathroom configuration.
Yeah, a bit, but it's
slightly different.
It's the same. It's the same train.
No. But the same like ADA compatibility, the push button doors.
Yeah, but it's definitely that they want to. It's increasing the service. The big thing of Amtrak is being more reliable, right? And a lot of that is not on their fault because they lease most of their lines outside the Northeast Corridor and some other places. They lease it from the freight railroad companies. And unfortunately, the freight railroads are doing whatever they want, basically, you know, breaking the law, where passenger trains are supposed to have the right of way and they're supposed to have preference, right? But that's not happening. Even to the point now that, you know, they're basically lobbying the Republicans in Congress to just get rid of that law. Well, what was the whole point of having the law if it's not even being enforced? The problem is that there's no enforcement and there's no common sense. That's kind of the issue. And Amtrak is, you know, yeah, it gets treated as the redheaded stepchild, but it's kind of, the problem is it's like, you know, people don't really, there's really no prioritization with Amtrak because of so many different lobby groups in the United States that don't want to have rail succeed in the United States.
You had said on a previous stream we should have freight and passenger trains separated. Should not be running on the same track.
Yeah, and that's going to be quite expensive in some places. Is it possible? Absolutely. And you can have some areas like what Brightline is doing, where because they have full control over their own rail line, and you know Brightline being a spinoff of the Florida East Coast, they can far better schedule when a freight train is going to come in and when a passenger train is going to go through, so they're not conflicting with each other. And they've increased the amount of trackage in some areas where there's 4 tracks going through, where it doesn't even affect one another. So that's kind of the thing, is that we need to be able to have the availability and the compromise between both passenger trains and, because you need freight, absolutely do, and that's the best way to move goods around the country. It's much better than throwing in a couple 100,000 more trucks onto the highways with people who don't know how to drive and CDLs that just got last week. That's, again, we have to make, it's not like we're not supposed to have any trucks, because a train can't deliver a package to your front door. You need that final mile in there, right? And that's where trucks serve perfectly fine. It's the same thing with buses. That's where buses serve perfectly fine. We've been. Yeah. I've never said I don't like either of them. I said we absolutely need them. It's just that we don't need we don't need a truck to be going 800 miles or over the road to some places, when you can have it done on a train for far cheaper and with less clutter on the roads.
Demetrius, Brightline's trains look kind of space age to me.
Oh yeah, no, the design they did with that was fantastic, and I still say, every time I've been on Brightline, I'm still taken aback by how amazing this is. It does give a bright spot in my heart, no pun intended, to at least it's the white pill for transit here in the United States. It's like, at least we have a chance. At least there's something good that we can at least show to the rest of the country and say, yes, this works.
And for me, I think Amtrak is finally coming to their senses, for lack of a better term, realizing, I think, that they're a relic of a transportation system, while looking at Brightline, seeing their space age train.
Yeah, so they're definitely changing themselves. Anyway, Ronell, I appreciate you coming on board. Thank you for coming on, man.
You too.
All right, and I think with that, those are all our speakers on here. So, all right, let me see what's in the chat, and then we're going to park this train, and we're gonna call it a night here. Heartless Fiend, what if we had Shinkansen freight trains? Someone tell Amazon. Well, there actually are electric freight trains, but let me see. China has 200-mile-per-hour versions of those. Yeah, and that's the thing. It's like, we're not even close to thinking about that. That's sort of the issue, right? We're just like, and the thing is, Amazon is just going to just bring on the cheapest thing that they can possible, because it makes more sense for them, and they can just throw it away. You know how Amazon can be. Mohammed Qureshi, the last of the boomers are expected to retire by and large by the end of the decade. We have to wait that long? So anyway, infrastructure and services need to be met. Needs a labor force going forward. Yeah. So, and that's the thing. It's like, we haven't set up the next generation yet, and I think that's part of the competency crisis. Is that there's, especially for young men in the United States, it's a lost generation of, and I've been writing notes about this, and it does need to be talked about in a separate video. There's a lost generation of men here that, they can be the great next engineers or taking charge of a train. But unfortunately, because of the policies within this country and because of the laws and the way that this country has changed, they're basically relegated to a minimum wage job. Or you have a guy who's fantastic. He can be, a great architect or planner, but because the school kicked him out because he's not a certain color or race or whatever it is, or because his parents didn't really care about him, or the system itself just failed him. Well, he's just basically playing Factorio and city skyscrapers all day long. And he spent thousands of hours a day. But that's the thing, is that we have a lost generation of men. A lot of it is no fault of their own. Yes, the system sucks. We know that. But at some point, there's going to be a backlash, and it's never a good thing when a country has a lot of jobless, young, fighting age males that have had enough. Okay? Now, is there going to be some sort of fight club sort of, event or anything like that? And, if you haven't watched the movie yet, I don't care if I'm spoiling it. You should have already watched Fight Club. There's just some movies that people should have already watched. You know, is there gonna be a whole bunch of young men wearing Thomas the Tank Engine T-shirts that are gonna, you know, overthrow their government and start building trains? Probably not. That's a great way to get the National Guard called in. But, you know, at some point, you know, we need to start finding solutions for this. And we need to start at least being more responsible for ourselves, right? You know, I myself cannot go ahead and build a whole high-speed rail train system, but I can at least get involved. And that's what I did with Brightline, right? You know, to whatever extent that it was, it helped to make that project a reality, right? And that's the thing we can do, you know, just lend your energy to something, at least in your local area, to help get it done, whatever it is. Worst case scenario, it doesn't go through, but at least you get the battle scars. At least you learn. At least you're there. At least you know how crappy your local system is and who your commissioners are. And you know a few names. You know a few places. That sort of the thing is just get involved somehow. And it's easier now more than ever because a lot of these commission meetings are online. But I've talked about this before, and I know I've talked about this for years about getting it. I did get that one video. It's like, you know, how can we fix things and, you know, sort of some steps here and there. But like I said before during the stream, there are a ton of older videos that we've done with great principles behind them, by the way. And at the time, you know, in context of the time that they were made, they were great videos, right? They had great information and they worked well. But YouTube has changed. The face of the politics has rapidly changed. A lot of those videos are pre-COOF. Things have changed a lot since the COOF. So, and I think now that my editing software is working, I'm feeling invigorated. I feel like we're getting some momentum here. It's time to get back on track and start doing some things. So hopefully there's going to be a video. I know I say this and I'm not jinxing myself here, but we're getting a video in the works. Hopefully December we can start getting things back. And for our 10th anniversary of 2024, get this train moving, get this channel moving, get things going over here. Again, it's not that I don't really care about views or whatever. I just care about making a difference and making a change. Okay, that's what it's about. It's about getting everybody involved and having that passion directed. Because that's the thing that I've seen about millennials and Gen Z. You know, we're kind of all in the same boat over here. Is that we have so much passion about things. And we get very cynical, and that's why we become a lost generation, is because we have all this passion, we have all this knowledge, and it feels like the society doesn't want you. But there's a way that you can still affect the change. And if it still doesn't work, at least you got the battle scars. At least there's a way that you can be able to make a change. And there will be a time that we will, you know, our generation will be in power. And it's about making a better world and not repeating the same mistakes that, you know, the last generations made. That's what we got to end it on. And I think that's a good way to end it. Anyway, thank you all for joining on. I appreciate you all for coming on board. Who is John Galt? Atlas Shrugged. If you guys haven't read that book, that's also a good book. You know, again, I sort of passed my Lolbert phase a long time ago, but it's still a good book. Anyway, thank you all for coming on board. Appreciate you for joining on. We will see you all next time. Godspeed. Take care.